PROANO here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 8th Perry Mason episode review. I was going to say, finally, oh no, wait, they renewed it for season 2. I completely forgot. It's over. The first season is over. It was supposed to be a miniseries, but guess what? They're doing season 2. I'll say this, and this will probably end up being the title felony of this episode review. All's well that ends well. I'm talking about the case itself. I'm not talking about the actual, my opinion on the story. I mean, the case ended as fine as it can be. As for the overall episode, I think it did a damn fantastic job of wrapping it up. Where the thing is that this did not fall under the usual tropes on detective stories where there's just a miraculous finite conclusion. There's still some stuff that could have been done, but they didn't, and I feel like that's a more stronger method for this story. I feel like that works better instead of what we could have initially gotten, but I don't mind that. And the way they ended it, it's definitely felt like this could have ended as if this was going to just be a miniseries. It could have just ended the way it did, and it worked. As now knowing we're getting a season 2, there's so many avenues they could take it, and I'll talk more about that in a couple weeks when I get to the season 2 predictions. But until then, overall, this episode did a fantastic job wrapping up the Dawson case. It put some wrapped up in some loose ends, obviously leading some things open for season 2 to tackle on, and I can't wait to see how to do that. And there's honestly some really Emmy nominated performances here. I'm so disappointed that this show probably won't get nominated for Emmys next year. Or it could. We'll see what happens, because I think the Emmy nomination this show didn't. I don't think it classified under. So hopefully maybe next year I'll get, because this episode really delivers some goddamn performances that I'm like, whew, these people need Emmys or more Emmys. But anyway, let's go for the Butcher recap so I can talk about the last chapter in the Dawson saga. So we cut back after the failed resurrection of Charlie Dawson. We cut back to the church where the mother, Sister Alice's mother, is kind of basically trying to salvage what she could, considering the fact that Alice is AWOL. They have this baby here, but Emily's not here to claim the baby. So the church is all in shambles right now, considering with everything going on, which obviously makes as much sense as you and me can. But we won't see them for a while. We cut to the house of Darcy. Wait, is it Darcy? Oh, fuck. Please don't tell me I forgot the assistant's name, who's not the assistant anymore, but was technically going to be Perry's assistant again. I think it's Darcy. It could be Darcy. Oh, my God. Yeah, it is Darcy. Yeah, sorry. So, we're at her house. Emily's there. She's kind of, very still shook up by the fact that Charlie wasn't at the grave. She's confused, of course. I wonder, what happened to the baby's body? Resurrection aside, no matter how much you failed, there was no body there. Where's the body? Because, honestly, any rational, sane person sees this other baby. It's clearly that's not Charlie. But either way, so Darcy's kind of loosely preparing her for Emily for her eventual standing at trial, because at this point there's really no other option to do but to put her on the stand. But then we cut to the trial where it's Perry's turn to bring up his witnesses, and he's interviewing the detective, and man, he is really driving home all the connections Pete already gave him, everything he had gotten against him, trying to tell the truth, but obviously with no concrete proof that it was him that committed all this, that he was there, who took the money from the original. When we started the first episode, he was there. He took the money. He was responsible for the murders of the other 3 accomplices. He moved George's body. He's trying to tell this entire story, and we're getting the scenes of, we're actually getting to see his perspective via these retelling of events for Perry's words. And again, the one thing I love about these types of shows, that when we don't know anything, when we initially figure out this information, we just get the information, and then when we come back to it and get the visuals and get to see how it actually happens, I don't know why that always makes me so happy, and it makes me so pleased on the show that they actually had the time to do that. So even during all this, Perry is trying to nail down to the jury that, hey, he's the guy, he's the one who's doing. He's trying to pressure him for a confession, But then we just see a random guy in the audience, like, basically saying, "No, he's not going to confess. He's not going to confess." And it's like, what's going on here? And then it turns out, no, this is just a imaginary rehearsal in Perry's head to how he would approach putting him on the stand. And it turns out it's the guy, one of EB's fellow lawyer buddies. I think we've seen him before. He's just basically helping out the team, trying to, like, figure out how to, like, get the flow going. What should Perry be doing as his, strategy against to counter the prosecution side of thing that they already did in the last couple of episodes. So I appreciate. So it's appreciative that he's helping him out, and they're trying to figure out, like, what avenue is best. And they're thinking about it. It's like the only real thing is to get Emily on the stand and hopefully have her actual, like, clarity be the voice to, like, convince the jury that, like, hey, she's not guilty. And they're seemingly doing that, and Perry's kind of, like, at his wit's end here, since, he still has to go up there. He still needs to prove to the court that, like, hey, this is the truth. Like, this is, basically trying to prove his case. It's starting to get to him, considering the fact that even last week, him almost losing his house, and, with now dealing with the whole resurrection debacle, like, there's a lot for him to deal with, and it's not as easy as to just say that, oh, it's this is an easy thing. No, he has a lot on his tail, and he's taking it out on everyone around him. And then I believe, do we go anywhere else? I don't think we go anywhere else, but where do we go? I think we just go to the next trial, I believe. I don't remember anything else from it. I think, yeah, we go to the next. Oh, we get updates from, Drake's also there. He's kind of like the unofficial Perry Mason new investigator. He's also talking to his wife, giving her updates that, like, hey, this is how the things are going up here. It's still dangerous. Best you wait until, like, this whole thing clears over. Still being the responsible husband that, goddamn, I love Drake so much. I'm trying to think, do we have any other scenes before we get to the Emily kid part? Which I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure I'm missing something, but whatever. So we go to Emily. She's on stand, and Perry is basically trying to play the middleman here. He is admitting that, yes, Emily has made some mistakes with George, with doing the affair with George. But the one thing that he's trying to prove is that no matter what she did, is that she loved her son. And seeing that flashback of December 26th, the day that Charlie was kidnapped, seeing her final moments with him as a mother, and not just as a mother trying to get her son back, but just holding her son, treating her like her baby. And it honestly, I didn't cry. It's very hard for me to cry, but just seeing that was just so heartwarming, because, like, wow, this Emily may not be the happiest person. She may not be. She obviously has a very rough marriage with a husband who gambles a lot, who has done some pretty bad things. But just seeing her, like, just, having that final moments with her son, unaware that it is her final moments with her son, it's just so heartbreaking, because I don't have kids. I mean, I'm a 22-year-old guy. I'm one of some other rare people nowadays who just don't have kids, thankfully. But it still hurts, because, like, when you have a child, like, no matter what age, it's still going to be your child. You still want to love it. You still want to care for it. And for Emily, I really felt for her in this scene. And then, of course, obviously, hearing her be honest, like, yeah, I was talking to George that night. He kept me up for an hour, which in reality was just a distraction so that the other two can go kidnap Charlie. It really fucking sucked. It really did. And just, like, hearing her admit that, like, yeah, this happened, was... And then her line about saying that, I didn't... like, my true love was not my husband. It was not George. It was my baby. It was my son. It was Charlie. And hearing that was, like... I know this is just acting, but, like, I believe that, like, yeah, she's speaking from the heart there. And then just seeing the DA try to destroy that credibility and just trying to, like, bring her down a peg by bringing up the affair again. Stephen Root, man, such a great actor. I mean, of course, I've known him for years as Bill Tree from King of the Hill, but, like, damn, this guy's a very dramatic actor, and, like, he can really know how to be a fucking dick. And then even after Emily's testimony and, her getting bombarded by reporters, Perry has a moment with Detective... Oh, another thing that pisses me off, and I have yet to text George, but I'm going to text him before this episode review goes live. What the fuck, HBO? Well, what the fuck, Perry Mason writing? What is with you against the name Joseph and George? I mean, George, You painted your George as a person who gives no damn about women in marriages. And then count with me with a Joseph. Turns out the detective's name that did all this horrible shit that was involved in the whole scheme. His name is Joseph too. I'm like, you gotta be goddamn kidding me. You gotta be goddamn kidding me. So Perry confronts him. Perry had enough of his bullshit. He punches him. He punches him, and then his partner is the same partner who kind of threatened him. Like, hey, you gotta kill anyone involved in this because I ain't going down on this ship. Like, I am not gonna lose everything because of your stupidity. He tries to defend him. So they have a moment there. So while Emily's being escorted away from the reporters, some man actually manages to get through to her and gives her like a piece of paper or something, unaware whatever the hell it was. But when we cut back to the Della's household, oh, it's Della, not Darcy. I'm so fucking sorry. I'm thinking of Thor. I haven't even seen Thor. I don't even know. Never mind. They're at the house, and she opens the letter. It's a baby footprint, so indicating the church is trying to get in contact with her. And where do we go from here? So Perry has a moment with two things happen. I forgot what sequential order they have it, but so Pete has another talk with Pete. Well, Perry has another talk with Pete over a bridge, basically talking about how Perry's running out of options. Like he has really no more strategies left to kind of like take down the DA and take down their case. But of course, like his wording is saying, I'm just about to run out of stuff, and Pete knows him enough to say that you got something else up your sleeve. Like there's one more thing you're holding back. Oh yeah, that happened before the Emily thing. I forgot about that. But then Perry is preparing his final statement, his final closing statement for the case. And he gets visited by his, I guess, no longer pilot girlfriend, who's giving him the money, who's giving him like a bottle of vodka or something, just to kind of like be nice and say like, yeah, even though I bought out your house legally, I'm still giving you this money because I owe you it. But Perry's rejecting it, saying that, hey, look, I'm gonna take you to court when this case is over. I'm gonna keep my house. Like you could just keep your money because if I take this money, it's basically an agreement. So he's still pissed off at her. / again, this is he's preparing his last chance to protect I forget the name, Emily. So a lot's riling on him. Also, another thing I should mention: Sister Alice is missing. Like no one's been able to find her since the Resurrection Day, which I'm not surprised, but considering the fact that you would assume that they're looking for her right now. But we cut back to the trial. It's the final day. It's closing statement time, and shout out to Matthew Rhys, who delivers an Emmy Award-winning performance, giving that final closing statement, putting all of his marbles on the table. Like he knows he doesn't have the definitive proof to prove Emily wrong, to prove Emily that she is innocent or to find the real killer. He doesn't have that, but he's still trying to prove to the court, like in very smart ways, like, hey, listen, look, I know we don't have the evidence to find the real killer. We know that, there's a lot of things that are wrong with this case, but the fact remains is that Emily is not guilty. She is innocent. She made some mistakes. They're not denying that, but they cannot deny that Emily loved her son. That the truth has yet to be revealed, so why should they get justice for something they haven't even figured out yet? So, and since the DA hasn't been able to 100% definitively prove that Emily was involved in the kidnapping, involved in this matter, then why would you seek justice for something that isn't fully resolved yet? And this was just a powerful scene. This really was. Just giving Perry his last shot at saving Emily. And of course, the DA is basically still trying to paint the picture, oh no, she cheated on her husband. George was involved in the case, so that's the connection. There you go. That's all you need. Circumstantial evidence, pretty much. And yeah, that was kind of it. And they deliberated that for I believe 5 days. And there was a nice moment between Perry and I literally remember the name and then I forgot it again. I am so horrible with my memory. Darcy? No, it's not Darcy. What? Della. There we go. They have a very sweet moment between each other where Della's giving Perry some food while he's Another thing you gotta know about like the world of the law, like if you're in a trial matter, you have to stay in the courthouse during deliberation, during when the jury's picking out their vote. You have to stay there the whole day because they're not gonna like, oh, you can go back to your office, like we'll call you when it's done. No, you have to be in the courtroom every single day until they're ready to go. So Perry's been staying there for 3 fucking days waiting for the deliberation to be over. And there was a nice scene between him and Della, basically reminding themselves of EP and like what would he be saying in this matter in terms of like, it's been 3 days of deliberation, which is obviously a good sign, meaning that it's not as easy to prove like, oh, she's innocent, or innocent or guilty, pretty much so. But then eventually we cut to the day of reckoning, the verdict day. And initially, while everyone's getting settled, I see the judge and the DA wink. I'm like, fucking hell. They're in it together. They got a scheme going. But doesn't matter. The judge reads the verdict. It turns out the jury's deadlocked. They can't decide officially if Emily's innocent or guilty. So the case is thrown into mistrial. And just seeing like all the reporters leave, like in the matter of like, I initially thought like the first guy who left, like oh, that's a detective, like he knows like something's wrong, but like no, it's just a reporter. Because apparently back in the day, like you have to like if you're a reporter on like a big freaking trial, you have to run to the payphone so that you can tell your people, your publisher, like, hey, this is what happened. Print this out right away so you can be the first newspaper to hit the stand. It was so fucking funny. And even the judge, like, seeing them, like, sit the fuck back down. You are waiting until after I said my piece. So, yeah, it's deadlocked. The trial is thrown to a mistrial. It's not a definitive, like, victory, but it is very much so. Emily's not going to prison. She is not guilty. She's not innocent, but she's not guilty. And just seeing the DA is like, fuck. This was, like, because, again, on the villain side of things, and yes, these are villains, like, the DA's whole case... The whole reason this case was even, like, picked upon was that this was going to be a big, scandalous case that if the DA wins, it's going to be enough for him to, like, move up in the world. And he lost the case. He didn't win the case, but he didn't lose the case. But it wasn't, like, the victory he needed for him to, like, be catapulted to the next stage of his career. So I could look in his eyes like, fuck Perry Mason. Fuck him. And then we cut outside to the courtroom where they're, like, getting interviewed by reporters. The DA is basically, like, saying, no, I didn't lose. I didn't lose this matter. Like, we didn't win, but I didn't lose. Like, we're going to try again. Like, this is not over yet. We're going to get her. And obviously he starts, like, showing his true colors when he starts lashing at reporters. Like, I'm not happy. Perry's being the honest person saying, like, hey, look, we're still going to fight this. It's still not a true goddamn victory yet until Emily's cleared innocent and, the case is thrown out and acquitted. So they still have more work to do on that front. And Perry... sees the other detective in the distance, like calling him out, like, yeah, I know you're responsible for this. You're eventually gonna be in this trial room too. And he's looking and like, nah, not gonna happen, Perry. And even Emily's like, still being interviewed about her son and the whole resurrection debacle. I'm assuming a week ago by this point. So yeah, even though like this isn't like a definitive like victory for the team, like. Also, we figured out apparently Pete paid off 3 of the jurors to like, hey, change your votes because apparently it was 9-3, so they were going to lose if Pete didn't get involved. So it may not have been the legalist way, but come on, Emily wasn't guilty. Come on, guys, you got to be honest there. It wasn't. You know what I mean? So we cut to the victory party at Della's house. Everyone's similarly happy except for Pete. He's just looking at Perry very sternly, and he leaves. Perry follows suit. And it turns out Pete has accepted a job offer from the DA to work in his office to be his, private investigator, and it's steady work. He at this point, I don't know if like Pete's actually honest, like I just need steady work because I need a steady income for my family, or it's just he just doesn't want to be with Perry anymore because Perry is changing his ways. He's not really 100% comfortable with him anymore. I'm not really sure what the direction he took, but basically Pete doesn't want to work with Perry anymore despite everything that happened. So. He just kind of leaves Perry alone and says, like, hey, you got Drake. You got a perfectly capable investigator on your roster right now. It's totally fine. And he just leaves. But then afterwards, Emily goes back to the church, the house of the church, to meet the baby. And yeah, like freaking no duh. She looks at this baby like, this is not Charlie. This is clearly not Charlie. My Charlie's much bigger than this little baby. But Emily just, I was like kind of thinking about it when I was watching the episode, but when I'm thinking about it, it's definitely like she has no one else. her husband basically divorced her. Like, the public opinion on her is very scrutinized on her. She's never going to have a very normal life again, even though, yeah, sure, she wasn't found guilty, but she's not innocent. Like, that's all the people are going to care about when like, going forward. Having this baby in her life, even though it's not really her baby, could be the only sense of joy she has left in the world. So she's just fucking like, okay, I'll say this is Charlie. I'll say this is my baby. I don't care anymore. So she accepts that. And so the second half of this episode, the remaining half, is basically just like an epilogue of sorts. Like, what is everyone else doing now that the trial's over, so to speak? So I'll kind of go down the list here, like just from smaller points to like the bigger points. So Perry decides to leave his house. He decides that chapter of his life is over. He's going to move on, so he leaves the house. Presumably he takes the money, and he leaves the bottle behind, drunken, for his former girlfriend, and he leaves a note for her, and she's happy. Like, okay, Perry's moved on. She can now demolish his house and like turn it into an airstrip. Okay, let's do that. Hopefully we'll get to see her again some point down the line. The DA kind of switched their focus from Emily Dawson to now the church that Perry was bringing up during his argument, to kind of like the DA is trying to like get some victories going here. So taking on the church via with Pete was a really good strategy, and presumably they did take down the church. They actually did mention the disbanded. But meanwhile, a new church is formed. Apparently, Sister Alice's mother has started her own church, her own traveling church, with Emily Dawson and her baby Charlie now as the kind of like the face of the group. Not like as the preacher, but like showcasing that, like, hey, if you join our church, we resurrected a baby. That's how powerful we are. So come join us. So basically trying to start a new church with a new beginning with her as the forerunner, which, again, she isn't that powerful as Alice, so I don't think it's going to last that long, to be honest with you. Another thing is that Drake quit his job at the police department. He's just no longer going to be scrutinized and, like, pushed over there. He quits. He gives back the bonus money. He gives in his gun, his badge, and just leaves. And he also welcomes back over his wife who gave him birth to their baby, and they throw a celebration party for them. So it was very sweet. Drake kind of got some semblance of like a new happy beginning for himself. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anyone else. So Perry officially took over EB's office. So now it's Perry Mason and Associates, and Della's trying to convince him that, like, okay, so I'm gonna help you for free because you have no money right now. Here are my conditions for me working for free. You're going to pay for my night classes for law school. In 2 years, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to join you as Perry, as Mason and Street. So you're going to drop the associates. Giving, like, basically Della's, like, basically trying to force Perry, like, no, I'm done being, like, you know, a pushover. Like, I'm going to be treated as an equal, which, looking at Perry is like, he's going to want to try and say no, but let's be honest, he's going to say yes. And Drake's just right there like, I just prefer to be paid in cash. I mean, that's all I want. And they get their first real client, who I'm pretty sure is not going to be the best client for Perry Mason to tackle on, but she can pay the retainer. So I'm like, fuck it, let's just take the case. And then we cut to the two asshole detectives, the detective Joseph. I feel uncomfortable saying that. They're in like some club getting some money for some shamble business they probably did together after the events of the case. Basically already trying to move on from the Emily Dawson case, already moving on to the next scheme. And they're kind of saying like loosely, like, hey, if anything happens to you, man, I'll take care. You take care of my family. I'll take care of your family. And the way he said, the other detective, the one who basically threatened him, saying like, you got to kill everyone involved in this case. The way he said it was like, oh no. And just seeing all the gardeners in the condo, in like the kind of the, like, I don't know, was like the resort or the club area, I'm not sure. They just grab him and they kill him. They just drown him in the fountain, which is like, wow. Considering what that guy did, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not against it. I'm pretty sure. Like, here's the thing, man. When you kill a baby, you've gone too far. You've gone too far. I can't support you. So him dying, I'm sorry. I don't care. He deserved to die. The other guy, I'm sure he'll get his just desserts someday. It's just not today. At least let's get the other detective out of the way first. Let's get him out here. I'm glad for that. But then we have one more stop to pay over. We have one more stop. Perry is in some town somewhere, some new area, some more of a more sunnier area than LA. and then he spots this waitress, which at first is like, is this his ex-wife? Like, I'm pretty confused here. And then looking at the face again, oh shit, it's Alice. So Alice, after she ran away from her mom, she moved out, I guess, west or north. I don't know. I never been to California, so I don't know the geography there. But she moved away. She dyed her hair. She's just starting a new life somewhere, as a new alias. And I don't even know how the hell Perry even tracked her down. I'm actually curious how, he did that. But anyway, so Perry basically missed her, like, yeah, I know the truth. I know what happened. That the fact that your church basically killed a baby just so that they can get the money to pay off their debts. I'm aware of all of that. But my last question is, what happened to the baby's body? Just what happened to it? And Emily's like, not Emily. Alice is basically like very vague. It's like she's not giving like a real answer. But I'm pretty sure she has something to do with it. She probably found a way to like move the body. So my question is, where's the body? Like, there's a body has to be around here somewhere, but we never know. And for a second, I honestly thought that was Perry and Alice going to start a romance like right here, right now? It's like that would have been a complete out of right turn. I mean, I initially thought going into the show, like, they're going to have this, like, somehow this connection. They're going to fall in love. But it seemed like in this scene, like, it could have been leaning towards that. But Perry's like, nah, not going to happen. Alice bids him farewell. She gives him a kiss on the cheek. And she starts to walk off. And Perry's last question to her is like, were you always planning on resurrecting him if you could? And she's like, I technically did. And she just walks away. And then Perry takes out that cigarette box with the yarn from Charlie's eyelids. He looks at it and he blows at it, basically admitting that even though technically he will probably never legally prove justice for Charlie Dawson, he knows the truth, and that's good enough for him. And he just blows it away, and we just see the ocean in the distance, and that's where we end the first season of Perry Mason on a very solid conclusion, Graham. And for me, I honestly thought that this episode was fantastic. I thought this definitely was, I think, the best episode of the season, of the series so far. And they did such a great job wrapping up everything and letting open a whole new thing for them to tackle on when we come back in season 2. Sorry about that, whenever that is. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed every performance of the cast members, especially Matthew Reese. I think he did a phenomenal job. Sure, again, this is not like pure justice. This is just justice adjacent, but it's still great enough to like see that we know the truth, we know what happened, and now at least everyone responsible has got some semblance of like moving on to the next chapter. So, in a way, you could say that it's over. We kind of moved on from this. I really do hope someday we do get some sort of like real definitive conclusion. Or I'm fine if we don't. I'm fine with either or. I just love, like, even though technically this was, for me, what I was believing this was advertised as a miniseries, this would have been a great, like, the way they left this closed is definitely in the matter of, hey, we know there's books out there, we know there's other media out there. This could literally fit into any continuity, I believe. Like, I have not seen what other works they've done in Perry Mason and media. I probably will never will, because I am so stuck with the Matthew Reese version that I'm like, I don't feel comfortable going into another one. And then again, I'm aware, like, the books are so much better. I get that, I understand that, but I feel like for anyone who wants to become a Perry Mason fan, this is just a great origin storytelling, or telling of the retelling of the origin story, to kind of like, just now you can go to any one of the media and have the books or such, and have this understanding like who he is and like where he came from and his sense of justice and sense of like doing the right thing. And I feel like that's the whole point of the matter. Had this just been a miniseries going into a season 2 eventually down the line, I'm really hopeful to see. And I'm curious what direction they're going to take this, since this is such a close-ended case. Like, this isn't your typical, like, show where it's like they're purposely leading you on a cliffhanger so that they know they can continue this in season 2. No, this ended... If the show was ending here, this would have been a perfectly great conclusion. Like, done. It's over. We got some justice. There's some things left over, and yes, but guess what? This is closed and done. I respect that. That's what they did, and I loved it, but I can't wait to see where they'll take us in season 2. So yeah, that was it, and I give this episode 2 thumbs up, my highest congratulations, and that's a wrap on Perry Mason season 1. It's crazy how 8 weeks flew by right fast. Yeah, so this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. For Perry Mason, if you want to know what we're doing overall besides Perry Mason, which is not concluded, we also did Doom Patrol Season 2 episode reviews each and every Saturday after a brand new episode on Thursdays on DC Universe and HBO Max, both streaming services, but that's also, ironically, also wrapped up, but that goes live next time. We also do DC Stargirl episode reviews each and every Friday after a brand new episode on Mondays on DC Universe, on the streaming service, and on Tuesday nights on the CW. But you can catch it all for free on Wednesdays on the CW.com and the CW app. But you only care about Perry Mason. Well, this was the end of our new episode reviews. Next week, we're doing a Season 1 review where we'll talk about both spoiler-free for newbies who have not seen the show but are very curious to see, is Perry Mason worth it? That's what we'll be talking about next week. But we'll also continue this discussion of what I've been saying, and we'll go from the spoiler section from there. So that'll be next week, next Monday. And then the Monday after that, we will be doing a Season 2 predictions video where I'll talk about what I hope to see in Season 2, what directions I would like to see these characters go in next. And yeah, so we still got a couple more weeks of Perry Mason content to go, so we're not just quite done with this story yet, but we're almost there. But again, if you're unaware, this was What's in the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of What's in the Tube, specifically our Perry Mason content, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring the bell for notifications when the next review is live. Like, favorite, share if you want to, but it does really help us on the long run, guys, so I really appreciate that. As well as follow us on social media to be up to date on videos and such. I'll see you Masoners next week for the Season 1 review. But until then, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of the Season 1 finale? Did you love it? Did you think it's an okay conclusion? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to conversation. And I'll see you guys next week.